What's up, guys? We have so much to discuss, many updates. This is going to be my last video of 2020. It's actually my first time filming or recording a new video in quite some time. I want to say like a few months probably. Of course, you guys have seen videos every week, but I release them at different times, sometimes months after I made them. But this one, I'm recording right before the end of 2020. And it's gonna be my last video. So a few different updates. First off, does something look a little different? I have to say, the quality is pretty incredible. So I had to buy a webcam. The reason I had to buy a webcam is that I had to buy a new laptop. The reason I had to buy a new laptop is that my old one broke down right before Thanksgiving. It was a drama, it was a saga. My old laptop broke down, and honestly, thinking about it, like I had it for 5 years. I've been using it every day for 5 years for work, for leisure. It's been around the world with me. That laptop was in Egypt with me. It was in Dubai with me. It was in Turkey with me. It was in Brazil with me. It was in Hawaii with me. It's been all over the globe. So it kind of makes sense that, after 5 years, it had quite a bit of wear and tear. So I had to buy a new MacBook laptop, right? So with a new laptop at first, it's always like growing pains. You're like, oh, I have to reinstall this. I have to figure out how you do this on this kind of new laptop. But then eventually you're like, all right, it's kind of nice having a new laptop. Never have to worry about the battery level. I don't have to constantly go around the issues that my old laptop had. So that's kind of nice. But I go to record a new video and the webcam quality on the laptop is horrific, and I don't understand how they made this mistake because it's a MacBook, it's Apple. Apple is all about design, cutting edge technology. Somehow they forgot about the webcam. It was really, I don't even want to show, it's pretty bad. So I had to buy a webcam, and I have to say I'm very impressed with this new webcam, and it auto focuses on me so that it's never out of focus. It's pretty great. So that's number one. Number two, you might hear that I'm a bit congested. It's not your average cold. I am COVID positive. I tested positive for COVID. I know, the drama continues, the saga continues. It's actually kind of a funny story because it took me a week to figure out it was COVID. My symptoms have been pretty mild. And they weren't COVID symptoms at all. I haven't coughed at all, no chest issues, no difficulty breathing or even congestion here, none of that. No sore throat even. I basically just had the chills one night and then kept sweating through the sheets and then had the chills again, and it alternated. That happens sometimes when you have a cold. And I had very swollen lymph nodes, and I was tired, very lethargic the next few days. But I just didn't think it was COVID because those aren't the symptoms that have been advertised to us. I actually thought I had mono. I know I'm a little old to get mono, but I thought I had mono because my brother had mono over Thanksgiving. We didn't know he had mono. He found out after when he went back to college because he's been kissing these sluts at college, of course. I guess that makes him the slut if he's kissing a little. Anyway, so I was convinced I had mono because he had the exact same symptoms. So I didn't get tested for COVID for that whole week last week because I just was like, there's no way this is COVID. COVID is, and your sore throat and you think you're gonna die, or you just don't have symptoms, right? But these symptoms were so specific to what my brother had with mono that I was like, I had mono. And then about a week in, I woke up one morning and I couldn't taste or smell anything. Sometimes when you're sick, because you're congested, you can't smell or taste 100%. It's very muffled, right? You're desensitized, but you can still kind of smell, you can still kind of taste. This is out cold. I was eating, I think, a pear, and I was like, this kind of tastes like cardboard. And then I frantically was smelling very, things that are very naturally, what's the word? Aromatic, is that a word? Aromatic, plentiful of smell. So honey, coffee, I couldn't smell. So I freaked out because I'm like, oh my God, I might have COVID after all this. So I went and got tested yesterday, and I have COVID. So I'm now quarantining. We've already been quarantining for the whole fucking year, but now I'm like really quarantining. I'm not leaving the house for the next, I guess, like 4 days or so. Luckily, it's been a week that I've had symptoms, so I don't have to quarantine for a full, 10 more days. I already have been sick they say once your symptoms start, 10 days is all you need for quarantining. So yeah, guys, I survived the coronavirus. It kind of feels like an episode of South Park, to be honest, because I just can't believe that like this whole year we've all been avoiding this like the plague, just to get it in the end. And it's like, oh, this is it. This is the thing everybody was worried about. This is like your typical mild cold, for me at least. I know everybody has different symptoms, but I just find it kind of like comical that this is what we're avoiding like the plague, and I didn't even know I had the coronavirus until I couldn't smell or taste anything, which by the way is a very strange, very eerie sensation. It feels, like I said, like I'm eating cardboard every time I eat, no matter what it is, but I can pick up on textures. So like if something's salty, like I had popcorn the first night that I couldn't taste anything, and I could taste how salty it was, but I couldn't taste the popcorn. It's very bizarre and it's hard to explain. Or like when I had a pear, I could tell it was sweet, like I could detect its sweetness on my palate, I guess, but I couldn't actually taste the pear. It's very, very bizarre. So we talked about my webcam, we talked about COVID. Guys, during the time from the time that I last recorded a video to today, we hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. This is fantastic. Thank you, by the way, for being subscribed to my channel. I thank you. This was a goal for me by the end of 2020 to hit 2,000 subscribers. And I thought at one point I wouldn't hit it a few months ago because my subscriber count was diminishing, like the rate at which it's always increasing, but the rate at which it was increasing, the acceleration rate decreased. And I was like, oh, I might not hit it, but we ended up hitting it. And I know 2,000 subscribers in the grand scheme is really not a lot. Like there's YouTubers with a lot more, but for me it's really cool because I've been with my channel since the beginning and I've seen this exponential curve since the beginning. So it's really exciting for me because I'm thinking, okay, based on the progress of this past year and based on this data, the analytics, next year I should be at this time next year I should be at 4,000 or 5,000. That's only if it mimics the exact pattern so far, but that's the whole thing with exponential growth on social media. You never know, it could skyrocket, it could also just stagnate, I guess. But it's really cool for me because, I think about it as 2,000 people have seen my content and been like, oh, I want to see more of what the nonsense that this guy rambles about. So just like right now in this video. So because we hit 2,000 subscribers, guys, I think it could be fun now to do a Q&A video at this point to commemorate this milestone. But I only want to do it if there's enough questions. So if you are interested, please post your question in the comments below. And if I end up doing a Q&A video early next year, 2021, I will take a look at the questions down below and do a special Q&A. So I think that could be kind of fun. Okay, I feel like I've rambled sufficiently. How long has it been? Oh my God, it's already been that long? It says 8 minutes here, but I'm gonna edit stuff out, so we'll see how long it actually takes. So the actual topic of this video, as you guys know, if you've been subscribed for a while, every month for the past 6 or 8 months, I've done a gay epiphany video. So of course I have to do a last one for December, and I saved the best for last. And I want to talk about how, at this stage in my life, I'm finishing up my 20s, I have really come to feel like my gay epiphany now is that I really do believe being gay is a gift. And it's interesting because growing up the way that I did, as so many of you have, I'm sure, I always felt like being gay was a total burden. It was like you're standing out in a negative way. It's something that you don't want to be, and all the inherent influences from outside make you feel like for you to be gay, you are inadequate, you're not reaching the status quo, you're not fulfilling the destiny that you're supposed to as a man in society. And it's actually really sad, I think, to even be thinking about all that stuff as a child. But the beautiful thing is now as an adult, I have such a bigger understanding. I get the bigger picture, and I realize that it's such a gift to have lived throughout life with a different lens than the average person, and to walk around in observation of others and thinking like, where do I fit into this puzzle? It gives you, I think, hopefully a heightened sense of awareness and empathy. Now, of course, we've all met gay men who are not empathetic or kind or respectful or any of that, so I don't want to generalize, but I feel like for me personally, being gay has most definitely made me a more sensitive person and just more aware of the nuances of things. And I actually have a few specific anecdotes that I wanted to bring up to relate to this. So what's interesting is when you are gay, there's no specific path for you, right? Like, it doesn't come with a manual. Nobody prepares us for this. You can't have like the regular talks with your parents that stereotypically parents have with their, straight daughter or straight son, right? But again, now I realize the beauty of that as an adult, because what that means is it's all erased. Like, you can figure out your own path, and there's a freedom to that which is irreplaceable, like priceless, right? Because so many people walk through life feeling like they have to complete a certain path. And I think that's actually so detrimental to the human spirit, because you're basically living somebody else's life, which is ironic because that's so many of our life stories growing up, right, as gay people, or even into early adulthood. So many of us pretend to be somebody we're not to appease everybody, right? But it kind of dawned on me, like, straight people have that too, to a degree. About this time last year, one of my brothers was dating a girl, and he said something, it was kind of like a Freudian slip. He said something like, well, I'm thinking about marriage and kids, because at this point it's like, people are going to start asking questions like, why am I in my mid to late 30s and I still don't, I'm still not married, still don't have kids. And he kind of just blurted it out, I think without thinking much about the content of what he was saying. And I was so shocked, because I was like, you don't need to get married or have children to please other people or to end people's suspicions. I don't even know what he meant. I don't know if he meant that people will think he's gay or that he's like a wasted stock of a man. I don't know what he meant, but it was just so strange for me to hear someone say that, because inherently I interpreted that as like, oh, I need to do this. Even if I don't really feel ready or I don't feel like I want to, the catalyst for me to do this is because society's telling me to do it. And I kind of tried to knock some sense into him and say, if you do want to get married, that's one thing, but it sounds like you're doing it because you're supposed to, that's how so many people end up getting divorced, because they're doing something that they don't even really believe in doing, but it's just like they go through the motions. Anyway, he ended up breaking up with that woman months later, and now I'm so glad that we had that conversation, because I'm like, maybe that, put a little thought in him, like, oh, you don't have to do this just because people are telling you or expecting you to do that. And similarly, I have a very close friend from childhood who, even growing up, she always had a boyfriend. There was always a guy on the radar. And I spoke to her a few months ago, and she was telling me about how she's unhappy in a relationship, and that she feels like this guy doesn't really, that he puts his feelings first instead of hers. And it was one of those conversations, kind of like with my brother, where I felt like she was telling me how she really felt, but because of how she's been conditioned to think, she wasn't even listening to her own words. She knew what she felt, and she was in so many ways saying it's probably time to break up, but it's like she needed me to say it to her to really get it, which many of us do. I do that all the time too, where I know how I feel about something, but it's almost like you want somebody else's validation because you don't trust your own instincts to a degree. In talking about this, she explained to me how she envies me, strangely, that I've never been in a relationship, because that has made me independent and like not concerned about, not feeling like I need a man to complete me. And she was telling me that because she's so used to always having a boyfriend, she's afraid to break up because she doesn't know how to be alone. And this like, blew my mind, because the grass is always greener, right? Like she's looking at me thinking, wow, like he spent all this time on his own, so he's fully independent and not like codependent on somebody. And I'm looking at her like, lucky girl, like she's always had these hot guys into her and she's always had guys cater to her. But meanwhile, little did I know, this has created a world for her where she doesn't know how to be single. Again, this idea of the path, right? Like the path that we're on, she's been taught this is the path she's supposed to be on, and so now she doesn't know how to create her own path that's about her, as opposed to what the image of how your life is supposed to be. What this really tells me is that all this stuff is about perspective, right? Being gay is about perspective. So many things in life really are about perspective and how you view it. The same exact thing, being gay, I grew up viewing very differently than I view it now. And I'm now realizing that was a choice. It's a choice to see it how you want to see it. I think that as gay men, as gay people, we deal with a lot of headaches and isolation and chagrin even, but there is a beauty to it, because I think there's a wisdom that comes with having such a specific experience, in the same way that I think being Black in America gives you a very unique experience, being trans in America, or just in the world, being trans, growing up poor. Like there's certain things that you only really understand if you've been through it yourself. And it's like, what does Oprah always say? I wouldn't take anything from my journey because it's my journey. So that's the note that I want to end 2020 with on my channel. I hope you guys have enjoyed my content up to now and enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more content starting 2021. I have some ideas. Guys, happy holidays, happy new year. Even though we're like, at the time of this video, 15 days away. I will see you in 2021.
When I get the courage up to love somebody new, it always falls apart cause they just can't compare to you. Your love won't release me, I'm down on the ball and chain, reminiscing on love as I watch 4 seasons change. Comes the winter breeze that chills the air.